Welcome to Master B2B Mythbusters, where we take a commonly held belief in B2B e-commerce and put an industry expert on the hot seat to find out if it's true or if it's fiction. My name is Brian Beck. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Andy Hoare, my partner at Master B2B. Andy, for those of you who don't know him, longtime industry expert, 7 years at Forrester Research, running B2B e-commerce, the CEO of Paradigm B2B. His resume continues, Silicon Valley veteran. Andy, I am excited to be here with you today on this topic, channel conflict.
This is going to be a great one, actually. I know we have a really impressive list of people who signed up for this, too. I think this is a perennial problem.
Yeah.
We asked the question head on about whether it's solvable or not. But for those of you who don't know Brian, Brian's a 2 decades veteran of e-commerce space. He's been on the B2C side, he's been on the B2B side, he's been a systems integrator, he's the author of a book, and now he's my partner on Master B2B. So you always say that people have me on speed dial, but I think you're really talking about yourself. So there are people who have Brian on speed dial as well. So great to be here, Brian.
Yes, absolutely, Andy. Well, this is, again, a great topic. And thanks. You just call me old, by the way. I've been in the industry for quite a while. So, folks, today we're going to talk about channel conflict, one of the hottest topics in our industry. Before we do that, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. We are going to be recording this. You can access this on demand afterwards to share with all your friends and family. We also want to hear from you. Our sessions, folks, are always interactive. We want to hear from you on this topic. This is such a burning topic, literally, and it's one that that is preventing many companies from getting into e-commerce and fully taking advantage of the opportunity in front of them. So put your comments and questions in the Q&A box. We posted several times on this on LinkedIn and got a huge reaction from the market. Concerns, questions, and great points. So we'll incorporate some of those as well as we get through this. So again, make this interactive. And at the end of this, folks, we're going to ask you whether our hot seat expert busted the myth or did not bust the myth. So stay tuned for that as we get to the end of this 30-minute session. So Andy, channel conflict. Is it solvable? Is it not solvable between manufacturers and distributors? I know, as usual, you have some data to share. Please go ahead and share some.
Well, we're going to put this one to the test, and we're going to force our guest here to explain to us how it is, in fact, solvable. But as a lead into this, and we even published this on our website, a survey recently by BCG Digital Ventures found that 38% of channel managers said that channel conflict is their top concern. Okay, that kind of makes sense. But 44% believe that these tensions will actually increase in the future, not decrease. Now, I've been around this space for a while. I know you have as well. And everybody's been talking about channel conflict for a while. But those numbers are not encouraging when you think about this problem being resolved. And I think now that everybody's bleeding over in everybody else's space with manufacturers selling direct and distributors doing private label now, which is basically acting as their own brand manufacturer, it is an absolute mess of a space. So we're going to try and get our guy to tell us why we're wrong about this.
That's right. So we'll reveal our hot seat person in just a moment. But Andy, I'm looking at who's joining here. This is a popular topic. I'm just looking at the list of folks. We've got Rockwell Automation on, Polaris Industries, Mondelez is on. That's a new name. Diversitech, Steve, hey, how are you? Clover Imaging is here. Restonic, Volvo, Sloan, hey, Adam. Keysight's here. And funny enough, Just Right, I don't know if you know Just Right, but they make fire extinguishers. So I guess maybe our guest here brought them on to kind of cool the temperature a little bit. What do you think, Mr. Hoare?
Could be an interesting co-sponsorship opportunity going forward. Yeah.
That's right. Well, welcome, Becky from Just Right. Thanks for joining us. All right, I think it's about that time, Andy. We got to get into this debate here. So Robert, let's roll and see who we have on the hot seat. Woo, that's hot. I don't know if I'd want to be on that seat, but we have a volunteer and he's got flames in the background. Oh my goodness, Mr. Jordan Jewell. Mr. Jordan Jewell is joining us. He is a longtime industry expert. He's the analyst in residence at VTEX, former IDC analyst. He's been in this industry for a long time and claims to want to debunk this myth. Let's find out if it's true. Mr. Jewell, welcome.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, it is really hot in here, as you can see. So like you said, analyst in residence here at VTEX. I formerly was an analyst at IDC for 7 years. I was the lead commerce analyst there, started that practice up from scratch. And now I've come over to the dark side, to a software vendor, to bring that analyst approach to talk about data, focus on data, and try to look at the market objectively. So really excited to be here and destroy this myth.
Whoa.
And right off the bat, I mean, this myth has no chance. Like we have customers solving this every day. And I think a lot of folks know this. They just don't know how to solve the myth. That's the challenging part.
Mr. Jewell, this is not solvable, but I'm going to defer to Andy on the first question here. Andy, would you please address the witness here?
Yeah, and I love how he's inoculating himself by heating up the room to begin with, thinking, hey, you know what? It's the frog in the pot syndrome. Okay, so let's lay the predicate here, Jordan. Manufacturers only care about selling their products, right? Whereas distributors, they'll sell anything that's profitable, including, like I mentioned earlier, private label products. This is a structural problem, is it not? How and why will this ever change?
So it doesn't necessarily, it won't change, to be honest. So there are reasons.
Are we done with this debate then? Did we just win?
Shut it down now. Yep.
That doesn't mean there has to be conflict. I mean, there's friction. There's, like any commerce that happens anywhere, there buyers and sellers and different parties have different incentives, but that doesn't mean they have to always be at odds. They can be mutually beneficial. So manufacturers, brands, they've sold through these traditional channels. Many of them still do 80 to 90% of their business through distribution channels. They've done well with that in the past, but the market's changing largely because of e-commerce, large marketplaces online, and they need to access customer data. They need to have, they need to know what their customers actually want. In the past, your customer as a manufacturer was the distributor, or in some cases a retailer. That was your customer. You knew what they wanted, but you didn't know what the actual end customer wanted in many cases. So you now, as a manufacturer, want that customer data. That's really important and valuable. Manufacturers, like you said, they want profit. They want business. They want to sell. They want the assortment that's going to help them drive business. And those don't necessarily need to be at odds. There doesn't need to be conflict. There's different incentives, but that doesn't necessarily mean conflict is inherent. So one example to kind of explain this is one of our customers at VTEX, Mazda in the UK. So maybe not how you traditionally think about manufacturers and distributors, but Mazda has a network of dealerships that sell their automobiles, obviously, and parts and such. And they wanted to set up an e-commerce site, of course, to sell to customers. Customers want to buy more online. That's what newer generations are doing in the market as a whole. And they actually onboarded all their dealerships as essentially as distributors or retailers on a marketplace. And so a customer can go onto the Mazda site. Mazda's the brand here. Mazda holds the brand power, the SEO. People are searching for Mazda. They're not searching for individual dealerships or distributors. When a customer goes to the Mazda site, they can place an order for a car, and that gets routed, geolocated to a specific distributor that's been onboarded, most local to that customer. So maybe not traditionally how you would think about how a marketplace works, but it's a marketplace mechanic. It's using a two-sided buying and selling system, and it actually aligns the incentives of the manufacturer and the distributors.
Jewell, Mr. Jewell, aren't they just accelerating their own demise, the distributors, by participating in a manufacturer's marketplace? They're commoditizing themselves. You got to be kidding me. That doesn't eliminate channel conflict. It accelerates their destruction.
And by the way, before you answer that, in that example you gave, didn't the dealers have no other choice? Aren't they basically captive dealers? They're Mazda dealers. What are they supposed to do? I mean, don't they have to participate in that or not get their cars? But to Brian's question.
Yeah. I mean, this is a specific example that's not applicable to every industry, obviously, but it's an example of how marketplaces can be used to align incentives, because that's what this is all about. It's about communication and incentives. So you could use similar examples for a marketplace where a consumer goes to the brand, or it doesn't even need to be consumer, it could also be a business, goes to the brand site, purchases something, and they buy from the distributor at the end of the day. The point for distributors, the point for distributors is, frankly, to a point that they don't have an option. The market is moving in this direction. If you think about Amazon, Amazon is essentially a mega distributor. They have thousands, millions of sellers and billions of people buying from them. So they're acting as a distributor, and the market is moving in this direction. This is what e-commerce has brought to the market. So they can stay in the past and just try to hide in the corner, close their ears, and ignore the fact that e-commerce is going to destroy their old business model, or they can adapt and they can focus on their differentiators, because essentially all manufacturers, like you said, want to sell direct. That's the direction they're moving. They want the customer data, they want the one-to-one relationships, and they can allow manufacturers over time to build fulfillment capabilities, better inventory, customer service. Service is really important. Or they can align their incentives, work with manufacturers, and help the customer. Because at the end of the day, this is what the end customer wants. It's whatever's best for them is what's best for everyone.
So everything you're saying is that, really it doesn't have to do with a solution. This isn't unsolvable. It's a reality, is what you're saying. So in other words, you're admitting, sir, that channel conflict exists, and it's not necessarily solvable, but it will inevitably lead to the commoditization of distributors and manufacturers realizing that, for example, all this stuff, they can just sell it directly. Why should they even use a distributor? So is this just the death of the distributors? Is that what we're saying? Is that what you're arguing, Mr. Jewell?
It's the death of the old model. So if the myth is that the old way of doing business is dead, no, I agree. That's completely true. Because the myth is instead the conflict. It's the butting of heads, disagreement, that these incentives, these needs can't be aligned. That's the problem here. Can that be solved? Yes, it can. You're moving the mark about what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. All right. So, all right, fine. And by the way, Sam Kleidman just chimed in. Cat and John Deere work. That's an interesting example. And it's interesting getting another comment here from Tim Peterson. He said the answer is clearly that manufacturers can get along. I'm not sure, Tim, what your argument is behind that, but so what you're saying, Jordan, is the manufacturer is going to win. That's what you're saying. I mean, that's what I'm hearing. And so if I'm a distributor, I'm not aligned with going out of business. That's not where I'm not going to agree that that's a good solution for me, right? So it is. I think what you're saying is it's solvable, but it'll end in manufacturers winning.
So this is not a binary win or lose. I mean, at the end of the day, if you go out of business, you lost. I mean, there's that, but it's not a binary that or this. You don't only have two paths. Most of it is in between. Most of it is in which variation or business model do I want to take as a manufacturer and as a distributor. One example I'll give you, I can't name the customer because they haven't gone live yet, but a VTEX customer, eye care provider, they're looking at 1-800-CONTACTS, what 1-800-CONTACTS is doing as a retailer, essentially. And that's hurting their business. Essentially, more margins going to 1-800-CONTACTS. And at the same time, their buyer, in many cases, or kind of an intermediary, is actual eye care providers. So like optometrists, that sort of thing. And for an optometrist, if a customer goes into your office and gets, they get medical care done, they get tests done, et cetera, they have an appointment and they walk out, that sale's not happening. If they walk out without buying glasses or contacts or contact fluid, they're not going to buy from you. They're probably going to buy from 1-800-CONTACTS. They're going to go to a store, that sort of thing. So your goal is to make a sale in the store. So what this eye care provider manufacturer has done is align incentives by they're building a marketplace so that their products can be sold in optometry offices to end customers on the spot. So aligning those incentives of the seller in this case, which is an optometrist, and the manufacturer. So again, not what you think of as a traditional distributor, but it aligns incentives so that there is a place for those distributors, in this case, optometrists, because they have the one-on-one relationship with the customer. They're going to drive business for the manufacturer. They have a lot of services they provide, in this case, medical services. But you could say the same for any distributor. They have a lot of services and differentiators they provide that might actually be their strongest strength. So that's just one example about why there is a role for all these parties. It's just going to be a bit different.
So, Jordan, though, is there a role for a world where distributors actually are okay with manufacturers selling direct? Because every distributor I talk to hates the fact that their suppliers or their manufacturers are selling direct. But it sounds to me, and it seems to me, that this is inevitable, that manufacturers are going to continue selling direct. Distributors are going to have to accommodate that. But what's your solution for a distributor accommodating that? I mean, you can sell services, that's great, but does that mean that's what distributors start doing now, is exclusively services, and they let brand manufacturers actually sell widgets?
So it's a couple of things. And actually, Kelly wrote a comment that I think that's a really good point. Like, it actually partly answers your question about what the role of the parties are. But I think there's a couple of things. One, distributors, they have a role. They provide a lot of value, but they really need to think about, not that they aren't already, but need to think about, okay, this new role that manufacturers are taking where they're interacting directly with customers, where do I fit into that equation? So it's just maybe doing a less of just the selling, and it's more about kitting and bundling. If a manufacturer is selling, they're only going to sell their products. As a distributor, I can kit and bundle a bunch of different products from many different manufacturers and create customized, complex solution for customers that saves them a lot of time. Everyone does want to, people like buying from brands, but if you're trying to build, we have a customer, a manufacturer that builds fire trucks, for instance. That's an extremely complex product. So the sourcing for that product is insane. You're not going to want to go to 100 different manufacturers to buy that. You're going to want someone who can help you, maybe 3-4 distributors to help you buy the products you need. So there's a point of scale there, that there's a certain scale that manufacturers can get to, but it hits a ceiling if they're just selling their own products. And then secondly, I do think we're moving towards where services will be one of the main differentiators. We talked a little bit about Amazon. We all know this. Amazon's just eating up market share. And that's something they can't, or at least now, aren't able to provide at a quality level, like servicing and fulfillment in the B2B realm, at the level that distributors do it all. So it's about differentiating in this environment.
Yeah, Jordan, I see here, I mean, the last part of Kelly's quote, I think, says it well. Thank you, Kelly, for your comment. Manufacturers still need partners for service and other real world transactions. So it's in their interest to keep channel partners whole, meaning the manufacturer's interest. You know, and yeah, I mean, manufacturers, you mentioned Amazon, they feel the call to sell on Amazon. I mean, how Jordan, how do you think, should distributors try to persuade manufacturers not to sell on Amazon, their manufacturer partners, so they can better help their existing channels? I mean, you said Amazon is taking share. They are. I mean, I argue that it's in specific places of the value chain, but I don't want to give you your argument. So go ahead. What do you think?
Well, you actually did a webinar on this very topic a few weeks ago, and you made arguments for why this can be solved. So, but anyway,
That was a different Brian Beck.
That's right. That's the other Brian Beck.
his clone.
Brian with a Bryan.
Right, there you go. That's right. Yep.
I think an important point, I mean, obviously, Amazon is really good at so many different things, and they now have Amazon Business. They have had it for a few years, but it's really picked up steam lately. My brother-in-law used to be in the Marines, and they bought tons of stuff from Amazon.
Right.
Like that wasn't even Amazon Business. They just bought stuff from Amazon.com and had it shipped to the. Amazon obviously has a lot of advantages, and as a manufacturer, it's very appealing to sell on Amazon because they have the traffic. Traffic's the main thing. They have so much traffic compared to any other option. But the problem is, one, you don't get that customer data. Amazon gives you very little in terms of customer data. Another big one that a lot of companies are running into more and more is margin. The margin that Amazon takes. This is a little more of a B2C example, but also applies to B2B, which is Amazon already takes seller fees. We all know that they take a bit of every sale that happens through Amazon. But then now Amazon's most profitable business in all of Amazon organization is advertising.
Correct.
That actually generates more profits than AWS. Amazingly, it started like 5 years ago. So for a seller, about 50% of your margin goes out the door selling on Amazon, which you could still make money like that, but it's not necessarily the best option. And if you can make a mutually beneficial agreement with your distributors and forego that huge margin cut for advertising on the platform you're selling on, for instance, that can provide a lot of benefit.
But Mr. Jewell, if you sell using Seller Central, you get the whole retail price. So that 50%, sir, can be deceptive. We can get more into that. That's actually a different debate. But yes,
Sure.
but it's interesting your point there. So we got another comment from Kelly. The distinction between marketplace operator and marketplace seller is important. To almost completely resolve channel conflict, the manufacturer operates the marketplace and onboards channel partners as the seller. Interesting, Kelly. Thank you again for your comment. We are coming to the end, and we want to make sure everyone has a chance to vote here. So we're going to pop our poll here a little bit early, and give Mr. Jewell a chance to offer some kind of concluding remarks. But on your screen right now, you should see the question: myth busted, channel conflict between manufacturers and distributors in e-commerce is unsolvable. Did Mr. Jewell, in fact, debunk the myth? Go ahead and place your votes. You have 2 minutes. Mr. Jewell, what say you, sir? Do you have some kind of final thoughts to wrap up your argument?
Yeah, and I actually forgot to do this. I'm going to do this really quick. I'm sticking up a line chart. This is going to be funny, but this is the U.S. Census Bureau data for sales by manufacturers in blue and distributors in orange. I pulled it this morning. And one of the things you'll see is distributors have actually performed the best in terms of sales. So we talked about, are distributors going to die? Are they going to go away? We're actually seeing more reliance on them than in the past. They're actually outperforming other entities.
Is Amazon Business in that orange number, sir?
I don't think so. I called the census recently about their data. They're super particular about how you're defined as a manufacturer, retailer, or distributor.
Just to ask.
Fun fact, that's really nerdy. They don't count direct to consumer as a retailer. It still counts as a manufacturer. Okay. So I would actually expect the blue line to continue to go up, but it hasn't panned out yet.
Hey, Jordan, just a quick question. Is there one that has something for profitability too, or just sales?
I mean, the only metric you can find for profitability is public companies. That'd be another conversation. Happy to have it.
I was just curious because sales can be deceptive too, right?
Sure.
Sales can be increasing, but profitability can be decreasing. So anyway, we'll let you finish though.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's like an overall, so three quick takeaways for manufacturers. You need to take distributors along for the ride. You want that customer data, but your best option is to rely on distributors for things like servicing and their niche that they're they're strong in for kitting and bundling. For distributors, you need to double down on those strengths that you're really good in, that you're differentiated from everyone else in, including servicing, for instance, fulfillment. And then for everyone, just rethink how your business model works. Think about how, like, not a traditional marketplace, but these new definitions of marketplaces, like the few that I gave, how they work.
Yeah, so I heard Jordan, a lot of good arguments around the manufacturer winning in the market, and distribution kind of along for the ride. So we'll see what our audience thinks in just a moment. I'm not convinced that this is going to go away. We're going to continue to have this channel conflict. Andy, any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, just one. I think it's become evident just from what Jordan was describing here that distributors are uniquely in this ecosystem fighting a two-front war. They're fighting the manufacturer selling direct, like it or not, and they're also fighting a mega distributor, as Jordan pointed out, in Amazon. So the history of countries winning wars where there were two fronts is bleak. And so I do think, to Jordan's point, it's smart to think as a distributor about being creative here, because if you just try, the typical approach to a two-front war, you're probably going to lose. So it makes a lot of sense to think creatively about how you do this and really focus on what you do well.
And one final thing, and that doesn't mean manufacturers are it's an easy route either. Like, it's very difficult to generate things like traffic. Like we see every day with our sellers, traffic is really hard to generate. Acquisition costs have shot through the roof lately. So any method you can take to kind of balance will be fruitful. It will work, because you can't just expect you can stand up a D2C site and it's just going to drive tons of revenue. You have to spend money to get people to come to the site, to make conversion, and it's not easy.
Right. Sam Clavin just thank you, Sam, for your comment. He said, along the same lines, should distributors just turn into sort of systems integrators or value-added resellers? In other words, are they, we're getting to the question of, to your point, Andy, about, making sure that they're adding value other than just the transaction. All right. Well, Mr. Jewell, thank you for joining us today. We do have a couple quick announcements. And before we get to that, we want to reveal the answer to our poll. Robert, can we pop the poll? You busted the myth, Mr. Jewell. Good job. 80% myth busted. Okay, I guess we can all get along. Wonderful. Good job, Jordan. Guys, thank you everyone for joining us. We appreciate it. We will see you on a future Master B2B event. Thanks, and stay the course out there, folks. Take care.
Bye-bye.